The Senate should also note that there are enough existing laws in the country's statute book on defamation, privacy, libel, slander to protect public and private individuals along with the 2015 Cybercrimes Act. The SB 132 bill, therefore, is a legislative overkill. There is absolutely no need for a new law, especially targeting the internet and social media platforms. The planned public hearing on SB 132 should therefore be an avenue to apologize to the people for wasting legislative time to resuscitate an obnoxious bill that had been totally rejected and to drop the bill. The Senate should rather promote bills that would improve the civic space and not unduly restrict it. We urge the National Assembly, in particular the Senate, to view the internet platforms as independent dashboard of ideas where people can freely exchange ideas and express their opinions or thoughts. Thank you.
It is in this same country that ABUJA published and ended up in prison. It is in this same country that we've had people say something on the internet and they have gone to prison. And that's even before this law, this problematic bill. So I want you all to imagine what would happen when the people in government are further empowered to throw you behind bars just for putting something on your Facebook page. In October last year, we, as Amnesty International, published a briefing where we brought out stories of people that ended up being not only harassed but jailed for simply speaking their mind. So, what we are saying is that we do not need more laws that will further endanger rights and freedoms in our country. What we need is good governance. And if you provide good governance, many of these challenges that we are talking about will probably forget them. The right way to go is not to further shrink the civic space, is not to further attack the freedom of expression. It is to provide good leadership so that we can all have a country that we can be proud of. I think it is important to stress that one of the reasons why we are against this bill is because Nigerians need to ask themselves this question: who exactly is this bill meant to protect? And that answer cannot be you and I. The answer is the people who govern and who do not want their actions to be screened or called to question by Nigerians. So this is one of the reasons why we say that if we live in a community or a society where you cannot ask honest questions, and the resultant effect is that you may find yourself being jailed or being arrested, then it is worrisome for every one of us, including the people who are leading us. It is high time for us to understand that the only way we can have a functional society is if we have a society where people can freely express themselves. And the right to freely express yourself has been guaranteed in all international instruments, including in the Nigerian Constitution itself. So if we choose to have a society where people cannot freely express themselves, the fear is that what we have on our hands will be greater than we can imagine. If people do not have the right and the freedom to express how they feel, it will lead to frustration. Frustration can lead to just anything. So this is the reason why we are saying that this government must drop this bill. There is nothing good in this bill. And if you're saying that what we are trying to achieve is to ensure that fake news is not spread and all of that, the truth is that we already have many laws in our books that will do exactly the same thing that you want this law or this bill to do. And so, our stand is that we do not need this bill. And the Senate of Nigeria must understand that it does not serve its own purpose. It is supposed to be serving the purpose of the people that voted it into place. So, as a responsible arm of the government, we are calling on the Senate to drop this bill because it is against all international human rights standards. I thank you.
My biggest point to make in this press conference is to encourage the youth to actually wake up and realize the impact that this law is going to have on us, especially. I feel like the older generation are just now tapping into social media like WhatsApp, but We have been tapped into Facebook. We have made friendships as a result of social media. We have built businesses as a result of social media. So many people's businesses are thriving now on Instagram. There are careers coming out of becoming social media influencers. And the scary part of this law is that we don't know how it will be regulated. It just gives too much open-ended power. So I feel like the youth really need to wake up. Everyone needs to wake up to the repressive impact that this law is going to have, and to speak out, to write to your constituents, to write and come out at the public hearing and let your voice be heard, because it's going to be a very serious thing if they curtail our voice and if they curtail our freedom of expression.
I can tell you categorically that Nigerian laws, as they are right now, they are already a problem for the media. They are already a problem for freedom of expression. Why do I say this? We have the criminal code, we have the penal code that have addressed criminal defamation. Now, this bill that we are talking about, this bill is trying to criminalize false statements. And now, if you want to look at it from the point of view that, what is false statements? Defamation says that anything that you say that is false about another person, that is capable of injuring another person's reputation, that is false statement. And that is what this bill seeks to achieve. And we have a very rich jurisprudence on this, whether in civil or criminal, that addresses defamation. Now, all over the world, the international jurisprudence has been built to the extent that even criminal defamation is frowned at. You shouldn't be in prison for expressing your opinion or for holding an opinion which you actually believe in. Neither should you be in prison for making statements that have injured another person's reputation. What should be going for you is that the person that has felt injured should go to the law court and sue in tort. That is the civil defamation. And then the person makes you to pay very well for injuring their reputation. That is what we should do. That is not the time for us to be criminalizing and be telling people to go to prison for expressing their opinions. In fact, we have had a lot of human rights violations. We have, for instance, the Cyber Crimes Act, where Section 24 has tactically addressed exactly what this bill is coming to achieve. It's not even going to achieve because we are really opposing it and we don't want it to come, we don't want it to be passed. So we know that with the Cyber Crimes Act, a lot of media personalities, a lot of journalists, social bloggers, they've been incarcerated because of this. And you know the interesting part, under international jurisprudence, even if you look at the International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights, you will notice there's something beautiful about it when it says that your freedom of expression is not absolute. Now, it says that whatever law that will be passed should be legitimate, should serve a legitimate purpose, it should be proportional. And when you look at the word proportional, it's saying that whatever law that you are passing should not give the state, should not give law enforcement agents unfettered discretion. Now, if you look at this false information and manipulation bill, that is exactly what it's going to do. It's going to give enforcement agencies unfettered discretion. Now, they see you that you have made a post that they do not like or is against or is opposing the government of the day. They come after you, they pick you up. In fact, your right to even get a bail at the police station is not guaranteed. You can be kept there for countless hours. And we've seen cases where people have been raped because of expressing their views on the internet. Why? Because there is nobody monitoring, no mechanism to supervise and to ensure that law enforcement agencies are not going beyond their powers. And so what government should be doing now is to be having conversations with civil society organizations. You should be having conversations with the public, educating them on why they should not be making false statements over the internet. And not only that, you need to train your law enforcement agencies. You need to even train the judges. Because there was something beautiful I noticed about this bill still. 80% of this bill is filled with technical jargon. You cannot decipher as a Nigerian, ordinary Nigerian, expressing yourself on the internet. If you pick that bill, you cannot understand a thing from section 4 downwards. Why? because this law was made for the people of the government, by the people of the government, to repress the people who has put them in place.
Thank you very much. I just had to talk because one of the journalists said something. If this bill passes, what then are you guys going to do? And I'm sitting down in my seat and I'm wondering, this is your problem. Every media house in this country is endangered by this bill. And people might assume this is something funny or it will be wished away. Imagine a situation, just think about it for a minute, where government is in a position to determine what is false and what is not false. This law or this bill did not define what false statement is. It left it to the discretion of our very intelligent Nigerian police to determine what is false and what is not false. And so, as a journalist, you guys should be the ones doing this press conference and inviting us to come. Frankly, because practically everything you write down can put you in trouble as long as that subject matter is on the internet. It can put you in trouble. And I think that is really dangerous. It's really dangerous. And I can go on and on. The laws are, the provisions are ambiguous. It talks about Nigeria's friendly relationship with another country. What does that mean? It talks about ill feelings. What does that mean? When did we start legislating feelings? It talks about whether the law impacts on elections. Even the courts cannot even determine what impacts on elections. And then it tells you that when the Nigerian police, in their infinite wisdom, decides that what you have said is false and issues a regulation that either you recant or you provide what is the truth by their standard, or that your website be shut down, you cannot go to court until you must have appealed to them to change their mind and they've come back to you to refuse. Now, this same law did not tell us how long it will take this nice policeman to determine whether or not to change the regulation. So for those of you here, they can shut down your website as a media house. You will go to them and say, please change this regulation. And they will take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 1 year to review that regulation. And you can't go to court. Who wants to live in a country like that? So what we are trying to say is, democracies die gradually. We don't expect that anybody's going to carry gun and say we're no more doing democracy in Nigeria. It's not going to happen. But with little things like this, it adds up. So it is not possible for you to criticize government. You can even, let's take the basic issue. How much barrel of oil do we produce in a day in Nigeria? Who knows? Nobody knows. So based on that report alone, you can go to jail. Come on, guys. So please, we are begging you. Go back to your editors, go back to your leadership, and tell them that this is as much as your fight as it is for every Nigerian. So I don't want to be hearing what are you guys going to do. This is your job that is on the line, my brother. This is your livelihood. This is your future. This is your country. People are making laws to protect themselves. If you read this law, you will realize that there's nothing in this legislation that is about me and you. It's about those in power. And we did not pour blood in the 80s and 90s to now create a tyrannical leadership that will make it impossible for us to, at least in the basic, go to the internet and rant. And so to your question, sir, the point is that we already have a mechanism within our law and policy that can address these challenges. Secondly, you don't legislate hatred or ill feelings away. You can't deal with legislation what you need to deal with good leadership. You can't substitute legislation for that. So this is a fractured country. We know that. We don't like each other as it's coming out very clearly. We've been programmed to dislike each other. We've been programmed to not like each other. Our problem is with the other side. All of us are victims. This is the only country where every state is marginalized. We know all of these things. But if people are venting along these lines, dealing with it is not about legislation. We provide good leadership. You begin to heal the country by your actions. You give people a sense of belonging. And then you can solve the problem. You know, we can't always think that legislation is our way out. You can't legislate morality, for Christ's sake. And so, we should not mix up the two. One, there are existing legislation, there are conventions and all of that guide some of the points you've made. Secondly, the fundamental problem of this country, which is the social fractures we experience, which is why we are scared of what's happening online, should be cured, not with legislation, but by good leadership.